The Magical Tale of Ben and Holly's Little Kingdom. Once upon a time, hidden behind thorny brambles, there was a land of elves and fairies, and it was called the Little Kingdom. Everyone who lived there was very, very small. Holly was a fairy princess. She lived with her mummy and daddy in a tiny castle called the Little Castle. Being a fairy, Holly had wings and a magic wand. Hi, I'm Holly. But being a young fairy, Holly was still learning how to fly and do magic spells. Oh, what happened? Oops! A lot of the time her spells didn't work out quite as she expected. Oh no, why isn't it working? Eek! Holly's best friend was Ben Elf. Ben lived on the other side of the little kingdom in a hollowed-out oak tree called the Great Elf Tree. In fact, all the elves lived in the Great Elf Tree. I'm an elf. Toot! Hello, Ben. Squeak. Being an elf, Ben didn't have to do magic, and he didn't have wings either. But he was very good at running, jumping, climbing, and making things, especially toys. Ben and Holly's special friend was Gaston the ladybird. Gaston lived in a smelly cave and was a little like a dog. He liked to bark, woof woof. He liked to fetch sticks. He liked to eat smelly food, and he liked to roll on his back and have his tummy tickled. Hee hee. Ben standing on a carrot, Holly with a tomato. One day, Holly's mummy and daddy, King and Queen Thistle, decided it was time for Holly to have some proper magic lessons. They sent out the word that they were looking for a magic nanny. Several fairies applied for the job, but only one was right. She was called Nanny Plum. Nanny Plum taught Holly and the other fairy children how to do spells. Abracadabra. Brilliant. Zig zag zig. Make it big. But sometimes even Nanny's spells went a bit wrong. Ugh, what's that snail doing here? Birdie wordy. Ah! Croak, croak. Ben was taught by a wise old elf who was called the Wise Old Elf. He was wise, he was old, and he was an elf. Elves, and in particular the Wise Old Elf, really didn't approve of magic. No flying or magic, please. Nanny Plum and the Wise Old Elf disagreed about a lot of things, especially when it came to teaching the children. But really, deep down, they were friends. Ha ha ha, ho ho ho. Sometimes Nanny Plum needed non-magic help from the elves, and sometimes the Wise Old Elf needed magic help from the fairies. Fairies and elves were often friends in the little kingdom, and Ben and Holly were the best of friends. At the end of each day, Ben and Holly would say goodnight to each other and go back to their homes. Good night, Ben. Good night, Holly. Safely tucked into bed, Holly would tell her daddy about the spell she had learned. Then King Thistle would read her a story. Cozy in his bed, Ben would tell his mummy about the things he had made that day. Then Mrs. Elf would read him a story. And warm and snug in his basket, Gaston would fall asleep in his lovely, messy, smelly cave. The end. Visit jolinastories.com. Thank you for listening.